Been about 20 minutes. All right, welcome to Where's Your Next on this beautiful Monday, the 18th. I've got my new co-host. I want to introduce. His name is Coach Paul. Paul Bagan, life and career skills coach, and April Toms, who's been a VP of talent acquisition. And are you in transition, April?
I am not. I'm still with my company, Davis Technology Management. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I welcome you both. And April, thanks for being so generous to come on. We wanted to have you as the guest today. And I wanted to introduce Paul Bagan. Why don't you both introduce yourselves and tell us more about yourself?
Okay. Well, I'll start off. As Mike already said, I'm Coach Paul. My formal name, of course, is Paul Bagan. I am delighted to be part of this format and being able to share some of my ideas that I have had and experiences over the 30 years that I've been in the field of coaching in such areas as sales coaching, public speaking, career development. So I'm very excited about it. I originate from Minnesota, moved to warmer
Oh, very
country,
nice.
came to San Jose. And then there in San Jose, I owned and operated a business, sold the business, did some consulting work after I sold the business. Then I moved here to Stockton, and here in Stockton is where I have my coaching practice. And I work primarily with individuals and small businesses.
It's wonderful. All right, April, tell us more about what you've
Yeah.
done and where you're going.
Yeah. So I started in staffing in January of 99. And I'll keep it quick, but not knowing what recruiting was back then or what I was getting into. Wasn't hired to be a recruiter, but my boss at the time who hired me owned a staffing agency and said, I'm going to hire you for something for 90 days. I need you to be my executive assistant. And then after that, I'm going to tell you why I really hired you. So I got her all squared away as her executive admin. Got her all set up and going. This is back when we had to teach ourselves Outlook. So taught her Outlook and how to use Outlook
Wow.
Calendar, all of these things. And then after that, she said, okay, now I'm going to tell you why I really hired you. I want you to be my recruiter. You're going to be a recruiter. What? So now it's so funny to me because I think recruiter is a great path to be on. I mean, I know people who,
Me too.
go out and look to be, and apply, but it wasn't a thing back then. Anyway, so since then, of 99, I have been in the staffing game my whole entire career. So I just hit 25 years this year, all agency staffing, with a real small stint in a while back, many years ago, some corporate
Wow.
HRs for a little bit.
That's wonderful. Well, I've invited you both to have a discussion on, the theme of our, overarching tagline is "Where's your next?" And so, one of the things is this is such a unique job market right now, and I think this is going to be a good panel discussion on how to just stand out in this environment, what to do, what your advice is, where you think the economy is going. I've got two great perspectives here. One from really a career coach, and Paul, and you in your 25 some odd years. I've been 20 years of recruiting myself, and I created Where's Your Next because of a need to talk about these things in these modern times and help people to overcome the challenges they're facing in their careers. I think that's really, we're in such a unique time. April, you and I both know a lot of recruiters have been laid off, right? And we just came
Oh,
off that inspiring conference from Hire Easy today where I was a panelist and you were a participant. But wow, I mean, I just was blown away at how incredible that was and inspiring that was. There's one thing to be said. I think the biggest thing I'll say as a takeaway is the service giving back to your professional community is the first step to really, enabling your career to blossom like a flower. I mean, it's the most beautiful thing is when you're out there giving back to people, helping people, doing things for all the right reasons. The universe just has a way of bringing good things to you. I think there's a holistic point of view on that. What do you think, April? I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, this is amazing. I'm excited you're here to share this and
thank
talk
you.
about your thoughts. And go ahead.
I actually got introduced to you. I think I'd seen some of your stuff before, but I went to your session at SourceCon, Minnesota. So
did
I
you?
was out there
Okay.
in the audience, and I came up afterwards and told you how great it was, and it was very emotional. It made most of the audience have tears. We all cried. So you're very empathetic, and it was just wonderful. And you show
Thank
that
you.
again. You show that again today. You have a ton of heart. You really care about this community and our recruiters and our sourcers. So thank you for putting your heart out there. So
The right
many of
thing
us
to do,
appreciate
right?
that. Yeah, yeah. So you and I, Mike and I were both on it was a 4 hour conference today of several phenomenal leaders. And you know what struck me, and I'm still thinking about, is that picture of the eagle that I think it
Yes.
was Carrie, right? Carrie
Yep.
posted
Carrie.
it.
Uh-huh.
And she said, man, how right that is. I want to use this somehow. She said, every 40 or at 40 years, an eagle completely sheds, all of his feathers and takes off his beak and becomes anew to go on living, or he dies. And I'm like, and just like she said, her point was that's exactly where we all are. And so that's top of mind for me right now is we are absolutely, we're all right there with the thousands of our peers that are out of work right now and all the AI. So I've got three main things that are always on my mind right now lately. It's the AI keeping up and the tools, and then networking. I'm this past year or so, like I've really plunged into a lot of networking, which opens up so many doors and meeting such wonderful people. And then gig economy, which I know, Mike, you post a lot about.
I do.
So I'm actually, in process. I'm writing an article on gig economy, but it's like a little book. There's so much to say about that. And I know, because you put so much out there about it. So I'm trying to pare it down to a succinct article, but those three things,
That's hard to do.
they're all relevant. So I'm excited to touch on a lot of that stuff right now. So I'll stop there and take a breath.
Yeah. Let's
Paul
let Coach Paul chime in. So I want to ask you, Paul, what you're seeing this. You have a very unique perspective as well as April. All of us have been around for a while in the industry. I remember in 2005 or 2004 when this platform called LinkedIn came out. I'd never really heard of it. I was thinking, well, oh my gosh, this is interesting, kind of like Facebook. And then, all these years later, like it's just evolved. It keeps evolving, keeps changing. And then AI comes into the picture, right? So, Paul, I want to ask you, over these years as a coach, how have you helped people adapt to these changing times, to stay relevant, to stay strong, and continue to stand out in your career? What advice do you have?
Well, the advice would be different for each type of person. But if we
Great answer.
generalize it, I would say that there's a number of things they have to do. I think about when you said LinkedIn. I think back when it first came out and I started talking to my clients about it and they were looking at me like, what? What are you talking about? And yet what they found it to be and what I saw it to be as well, and I'm not always on the mark with everything, but this one I think I was, is that it is a way to stay connected with others.
Like a Rolodex.
Yeah, but you can
Do you
stay in
remember what that is?
contact with your community. You can stay in contact with past employees or past clients. So many different ways in which you can brand yourself. And that's what I started seeing happen. So one of the things that we really have to do to stand out is and I encourage clients to do this too, think back to some times that you did something, not necessarily in an interview, but you did something that made you stand out amongst all the other people, made you a little bit different. And I always share with them that this is on the sales side of things, but I never imagined this would work. I was part of a real big fundraiser for San Jose State. All the politicians and the big
Go
wigs.
Spartans. My college too.
Yeah, go Spartans. So, and all that. And I had to meet a particular individual. I'll tell you in a minute in the story. But I had to meet him and I wasn't getting through. No responses at all. Well, at that meeting or at this dinner party, I did something different. I too was wearing my tux and doing all that thing, but I put one of these spotlights on my name tag. I started having people come up to me and say, I could see you from a mile away.
That's cool.
Yeah. And one lady said to me,
Oh,
she
what
said,
an analogy that is.
this is just incredible. I just love what you've done. Next thing she does is she says, here, let me introduce you to my husband. He's the president of the university. That's the one that wasn't returning calls. And then about 10 days later, I was sitting in his office. And again, to stand out, uh, what I did was bring that crazy thing again. He says, yeah, I remember that. So the point I'm making is that make yourself stand out. Don't be afraid to do something different. What is
Oh,
it?
man.
People don't remember the normal. They remember what's different.
You know,
You know what?
to go along with that, standing
Oh,
out.
good stuff.
So it reminded me that when I go to a lot of networking events, and there are always a couple of women that always wear the brightest suits. And then when I'm talking to like someone within my company or someone else, I'm like the lady in the pink suit or the lady in the orange, and everybody knows. I'm
Yep.
like, I need to start wearing bright suits everywhere I go, or bright, whatever, something wacky and crazy, something to stand out, just like that. So, yep,
Well,
agreed.
I so agree, and this dates me a little bit, but go back to the Ronald Reagan era during press conferences. Ronald Reagan would only call on a person when they raised their hand. The one that he called on the most was not the one he agreed with the most, not the one he had the best relationship with. I do not recall her name right now, but she's the one that put on a white glove.
Mm.
And it stuck
Oh.
out. It made her different.
Okay, I gotta chime in on this. Okay, now, regardless of your politics or wherever you stand, there's one thing that comes to my brain immediately. Okay, I look at a friend of mine. His name is Welty. Now, oh man, if you watch my channel, he's my friend, and I don't agree on all his politics on everything. I'm right of center, and he is too to some degree. I'm more kind of center of the road. Now, what I do love about Welty though is he put out a video the other day that went viral, and it was like shining a light. He was authentic, and he believes in America, and he loves our country, right? No matter what side of the coin you're on, you can't argue with that. You have to love that. Okay. Now, I loved that about him. And he had a viral moment when 450,000 people watched it.
Wow.
And it registered because he connected with a coarse constituency. And I think that's relevant for our discussion here. I try to keep my channel, political neutral as much as possible, because I know there's good on both sides. So I try to look at the both, and I'm one of those middle of the road people that tries to find that. But I have to say that was a powerful moment for him, and I'm very proud of him as a friend because of what he did. And that was a remarkable thing to watch. And so, you're shining a light in your community. You're shining a light in the human condition. You're shining a light in a way that helps people move forward. Now, when you there's often a saying in my heart which says, give a hand up. Help another person in your network. You see the person struggling with a job opportunity. And in our community, April, a lot of recruiters have been laid off. I love the TA community because they're offering hands up. Today was a great example of that. Mike Chudy and Steve Levy, the list goes on and on and on of these amazing names in recruitment that they don't have any other agenda other than to help each other.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing. I mean, it just inspires me, right? What do you think about that, April?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing that runs through, one of the networking groups I'm in is Alliance for Technology and Women. So it's very woman focused, and it's the same. At many of the things that we go to, it's always talking about reach your hand down and bring somebody up. So that's a recurring theme on what we're always trying to do for each other. And we have to, because it'll be you down there needing a hand coming down to save you sometime too.
Absolutely, 100%. We just have to believe in each other sometimes. And sometimes you don't know where that person's coming from. There might be a person that, I have to share this story. I've been doing on the side during this transitional period, finding my next recruiting role. I work at Domino's Pizza. And there's an 18-year-old kid. He's had such a tough life. His parents, couple bad, his foster parents were bad, mother was bad. He was homeless and living on park benches in our local community. I won't say his name for privacy reasons, but that kid became a manager at Domino's. And I mean, I've seen the best of humanity in delivery. Just down to earth people trying to make ends meet. Gig economy stuff has taught me that when you own your life and when you put your life forward, it doesn't matter what work you're doing. It matters that you're trying to live an honest life and do the right thing and lift people up where you stand. That's the most beautiful thing. And this kid is doing that. And he's going to succeed in his life, even though he had a couple hard moments at 18. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He knows what he wants to do. And he's just plowing ahead. And it inspires me. What do you think, Coach Paul?
Inspiration moves so many people. I mean, I've been moved by inspiration since the day I was probably born. It's a powerful motivator. When you're inspired, you tend to have greater sense of self and confidence. Don't you feel that way? Both April and Mike coming out of that conference?
100%.
Yeah, there's a story that I'm thinking about when both of you guys are saying that, is that last week I met, so we're putting together kind of like a gig economy team of just like experts, subject matter experts in their fields. So we had all these series of meetings, and then it whittled down to one-on-ones with me first. And then our founder's he'll do technical interviews. But I got to this one-on-one meeting with this gentleman, and he's on my mind all the time now. I guess it's been a couple weeks. And he is a single dad of 2 boys, both under 10, and one's autistic. And he works from 1:30 in the morning. He goes to work at like 1:30 in the morning. He works the graveyard shift so that he could come home and be with his kids and to be an advocate for autism. And out there, and and he's military, he's career military, he's getting out of the military, and he wants to get into, corporate world and the civil, civilian life. And then, so, is asking for my help. He's like a PMP project manager. And that's his skill set is not really what this team is that we're trying to put together. Not that it's not for project managers. But it wasn't the background that aligns with everyone else. But I think about him, how authentic and humble and caring, and what a dad. Like, I can't get him out of my mind. And like, it is my mission to find him a job. Like, I want to put him in something phenomenal because he's such a cool person. So speaking of inspiration, yeah, I mean, in recruiting, meet those people all the time. Like, I just can't stop thinking about certain people, and I'm going to do everything I can to spread their name and their resumes and their profiles all over the place to help them land somewhere, because they're inspiring.
It's something to be said for that. When a few months ago, when I went back to my last role, it ended due to some folks leaving my company and the strategic nature of how my old boss could support things. And he said to me, he goes, "Mike, this isn't a reflection on you. This is just where the business is. We can't, I can't, I've lost revenue and it's hard." And then I put out a posting called Shout Your Freedom, which there's a band called Skillet, which I absolutely love. And Skillet is an amazing band because they're constantly talking about, doing things for all the right reasons and living life. It was so powerful, and it just hit me how incredible we've got such amazing opportunities sometimes. And you have to do the things that need to be done. And it's okay to not have all the answers, but just go out and do something. So in that video, Shout Your Freedom, when I put that out, it got 180 views. And my friends from the gig economy who support me on DoorDash and that I watch their content and they engage with me, we had a moment where it had 180 people watch that video because it registered so much. And I was talking from the heart about what am I going to do? How am I going to make ends meet? I've got this moment as an entrepreneur to bring in revenue for my family in my way. But, this channel, Where's Your Next, is a reflection of the outgrowth of that moment. And it's a culmination of all those moments where just working with amazing people, seeing different people across the board. It's the intersection of the gig economy meets your W-2 job. And in many respects, I think we're at that point where freelance gig economy stuff is okay. Coach, I want to come back to you. You are an entrepreneur right now, running your own business and your own coaching practice. What does that look like for you, and how has that been? Because you're freelancing right now, and
Yeah.
it's such an important thing to talk about because you can own your life. You can create opportunities for yourself. My wife is a great example of this. A few years ago, she was wondering, how do I make extra income? And she didn't necessarily want to go back and be a W-2 teacher. So what did she do? She created her own preschool because she
Oh,
loves the preschool kids, and she's so good at it. And so she went and created her own business, and just is killing it. It's just absolutely amazing. So, Coach Paul, tell us about what you see in entrepreneurship, why that's so powerful to create your own opportunities in these times of 2024.
In these times, entrepreneurship is really a necessity. And what I mean by that is we can no longer in this economy put all our eggs into one basket. We can't
Bingo.
expect to work for a
Bingo.
company 25, 30 years. I've
Yes.
been on my own, so to speak, for over 30 years. I built an organization, I built it up, but it was worth about $1 million. So we're not talking about a Google or anything like that. But I was successful in doing that. But I started realizing that I had too much of my identity into this business and not diversifying myself and not having people see me in other ways.
Yeah.
So one day I decided, you know what I need to do is I need to go back to the book, Multiple Sources of Income by Jim Allen.
Mm.
Old book,
Yes.
but nothing old in it. It's really good stuff. And I started thinking, he said in there, what you want to do is look at what your strengths are, look at where your market is, and see where your market interacts. So
And
I
how
get
you can monetize it.
yeah, and how you can
How
monetize
you
it.
can monetize your passion and live your best life.
Exactly.
So you're speaking the language. I was just about to say the multiple streams of income thing.
You
I
have
mean,
to
I have
do
my
it.
W-2 job as a recruiter, which I'm passionate about. I have the gig economy stuff that I'm passionate about. I'm building a secondary income stream off of dividend investing, which I'm going to talk about at some point on this channel. And I'm also doing this YouTube channel, which can eventually be monetized. See, the branding mechanisms of multiple streams of income become so powerful. And the freelance, the other day, Jim Shroud, okay, who was going to be on, but he put out such an amazing human being. For the life of me, I can't remember the name. I'm gonna put the link in the chat later. But it was really good because she was talking about creating her own talent acquisition coaching business for and resume writing business. And that's another multiple stream. I mean, it was so amazing just using existing skills, existing passion, building it. What do you think about that, April? You've probably done that at some point in your career too, haven't you?
Um, speaking specifically about the gig economy, right now I'm on kind of the peripheral of it. From a hiring perspective and my clients being the hiring perspective, I'm not doing gig work or side work. However, it's definitely the economy's going that way. So all the, I'm still laughing at Steve Levy saying he reads 43 publications every morning. It's
Yes,
like,
he does.
so I try to have filter them out. I would love to read everything that he reads. But all of these things, the newsletters and the articles, the things that we read, it is, and it's always calling out the millennials and Gen Z. That's what they want. But it's not just that. I'm Gen X. We all want that. We all want a better life where we can be remote, be mobile, work towards something that is profound to us or makes sense or serves a purpose. We're looking for different types of things than like Coach Paul was saying, where you're dedicated to 25, 30 years and then you get your gold watch. It's just the world does not operate like that anymore. So gig economy, it is. It's the whole reason we're putting together like our gig team that I'm talking about is the world is changing, and the changing eagle, this is part of the things that we've got to adapt to as, like I said, hiring authorities and staffing agencies. Myself, I'm getting a lot more project work. Our company is getting a lot more project work than we used to, versus direct hire. So our contract work and project-based work is exponentially more than direct hire I'm used to being filled with. So it's a shift, which means we got to learn how to work with it, how to roll with it if we're going to be successful. And that's what we're trying to do right now.
And your life could be having a W-2 job on one side and having a freelance on the other. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, creating your own LLC might be an advantage. Creating your own LLC. I was talking with the sponsor of this Vlogcast at Higher Scale. And what he does, oh my gosh, I love Gannon. So Gannon is a serial entrepreneur that's building an ecosystem for recruiters to help build their freelance recruiting businesses. And it's such a cool concept because you can go on there. There's companies who need the help. They can bid on a project, and Sourcing Owls is another one who's kind of doing this. So a lot of ecosystems are sprouting up. There's some for marketing. Look at Fiverr, look at Upstart. There's more of these sites coming all the time. Just the other day, I did a whole side hustle overview presentation, which was pretty popular, amazingly. I was not expecting it to get as many likes and views as it did. But there's a reason for that, because that's becoming more the norm, and it's okay. Nobody's going to frown on you for taking the initiative to live your best life and build multiple streams of income. So powerful. If we're talking about that, I think it's your career has to take on a whole metamorphosis. It's almost like you're the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. You need to think differently now, because we've gone through all sorts of crazy stuff ever since 2020 when COVID hit. The way you see the world of work, the future of work, artificial intelligence, the continuing rise of technologies. I would encourage anyone out there to go harness these incredible technologies that are there and build that momentum in your life and career. What do you think about that, Coach Paul?
I think you're right on there. I'm just reflecting on the thought too that find a need, fill a need. And this is where we have great opportunities happening. There are newer needs coming up. Speak in my own industry, and our need is that we used to do a lot more work one-on-one in person with people.
Mm-hmm. Now, get comfortable with remote work. Yes.
Yep. Now we have to do that. Finding a need now is always should be on all of our minds. What's out there that's unique that I could tap into. Maybe others haven't tapped into it yet. Mm-hmm. Somebody came up with the idea of Amazon. Somebody came up with the idea of Google. Somebody came up with the idea of the pet rock. For those of you that are a little younger, the pet rock, look it up on Google. So, these are things that we have to be constantly being aware of. Be aware of what our opportunities are. And don't necessarily look for people to give you that opportunity, but rather look to create that opportunity.
When I started in my career early on at San Jose State University, I was sitting I hadn't quite figured out what I wanted to do yet, but I'd encourage younger folks, if you're just getting started in your careers, as a Gen Z millennial, get your general eds done at the same time. I wish I'd known about a program like this, but when I was in college, it was just starting. And I didn't know about it, and I lost 2 years, and I was like, ugh, I'd just known about this. There's programs where you can be in high school, get your high school diploma while taking college classes at a junior college, and you can get your associate degree and your high school diploma.
Yeah, it's so common now. My nephew.
It's amazing.
That. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Talk about courage, right? Do you want to talk about that more, April? Just thoughts on that? Your nephew.
Yeah, I was tripped up over a couple other different things.
Okay.
No, both of them. Both of my nephews, they're cousins, but my sisters were pregnant at the same time, so they're both 22 now. But they started having those programs, which I think is a lot more common now, where they're going to school and they're graduating with associate's degrees when they're 18. So now they're out of college in a couple of years, and it's so different from when we went to school. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's truly remarkable because I think here's where I'm going with that. So walk around you. So once get those GEs out of the way. Get do that at the same time if you haven't quite figured it out and you want to save a little bit of time. I mean, now it's okay to go the traditional route if you want. Graduate high school at 18 and go to college if that's your cup of tea. But if you have the ability to do so, you can actually get a couple of years of college for free in this crazy expensive time, right? Were you going to say something? Sorry.
yeah, well, this is what I was going to say when I got tripped up for a minute, but it goes along the lines with this is that I'd like to know your opinion, Mike, since this is possibly geared towards maybe sourcers and recruiters and TA type people tuning in and listening to this and getting started, and giving advice and talking about getting started in your career growth is, as a new recruiter, I've seen this talked about a little bit, how to get started. So you're probably in a bunch of different recruiter groups. I'm in a bunch of different recruiter groups. And then there will be brand new, fresh out of school people that'll jump in and say, I'm starting my own agency. How do I get started? Like,
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
My advice, because I keep seeing this more and more, is I call it going to boot camp. Go to Robert Half, go to Kelly, go to whatever they're called now, Aerotech Tech Systems. Everything is changing names, buying and selling each other. But go through those boot camps where you learn and you make the connections. Like, I went 8 years through Kelly Resources, and I absolutely loved that job. Everyone there, we're still friends. We're like family. I had always worked at startups before. Since Kelly, I've all been at startups. Startups is my world. I love startups. But that 8 years at Kelly, it wasn't really a boot camp because I'd already been in recruiting for 15 years. But you build such massive networks within companies like that. And they have the trainings, the processes, the procedures. Everything is very formal, laid out. You have a real plan. Like, if you're new and you're getting started in this business, I don't think it's advisable to jump out and start out on your own, even though I see that advice sometimes, because there's so many nuances on how to be a recruiter, how to be a sourcer. And unless you have a ton of money saved up, oh my God, it's going to be so hard for you, And the biz dev side, if you're trying to do it all, man,
yes,
go through a company.
Great point. And that applies to anything really. I think here's some examples of some thoughts I have about being an entrepreneur. So I think walk around your house, okay, and look at the stuff in your own home. Someone invented that product, or you're using that product from somewhere else, or you're seeing some, and think about, okay, what are the problems that people are complaining about? What are the issues that they're facing? And there's a solution to that. And maybe you're passionate about something, and suddenly start taking an inventory, like take a little journal, start walking around, okay, someone invented this product, that product, this product, that product, blah, 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 blah. Start writing down the ideas. Okay, how can I monetize something where there's a pain? Where's a bottleneck? Where's a problem? This is how great businesses are started. And the federal government actually has funding for small businesses. Okay, yeah. There's ways to get started. You do not have to start on your own necessarily. Go to these, and you're talking about boot camps. Well, okay, go to the professional associations too that harness these ideas, and that go to an entrepreneurial boot camp, support group. You'll find a wide variety of resources. You just have to go look. And as a recruiter or sourcer, for example, you already have the built-in ability to go find things.
Oh yeah.
Your reference librarian.
Boot camp, I mean working for the bigger organizations that have formal
I know what you mean.
processes.
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, your reference librarians are such a great wealth of knowledge at any stage of your career. So here's the thing: you're going to come to a point in your career, in your life, where you're going to be facing choice points, is what I call them. Right? You can go that road, you can go that road. Is the road you've been on keeping you satisfied? Is it a call to change something? you're gonna reach a point where you're like, okay, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of Y. I'm sick of X. Suddenly, what happens? Something truly remarkable happens when you start to go, wait a minute, this makes me passionate. I see this over here. What do you think about that, Coach Paul? You've had so many clients in your career that, I mean, I think you can speak to this. You've had those points where you've given advice, career advice to a person in transition. What would you tell them?
Career advice. First off, I'm giving it now, and one of the first things that I ask people is, "What's your why?" And maybe both of you have heard that phrase.
Where's your next?
Yeah. So what's your why? Why do you want to work? What does work do for you? Then I get them down to this kind of looking at, if they could, how would they create their ideal job? And sometimes they'll say, it doesn't exist. But what would it look like? So what we really have to challenge ourselves to do when we're in transition is, as we've been talking, be creative, think outside the box, look for that need, and ask ourselves what we're seeing. Can we fit a need? That's what I always ask people. Can you fit a need? I'll give you a good example. I had a lady come to me. This was about a year ago. She says, April, you could probably relate in some ways, because she said to me this. She says, I'm going to start a restaurant. And I said, what experience do you have? I don't have any, but I love to cook. I watch the cooking channel, all of this. And I said, so you're very passionate about it? Yes. What do you know about business?
Go be a cook somewhere first.
So basically, I encouraged her to do something. So she found somebody that owned a restaurant. I kind of encouraged her to do that. After talking to that person, she realized running a restaurant wasn't going to be her passion.
Mm-hmm.
But her passion was still coming up with things that are creative. Well, one thing led to another, and now I've lost track of her. And sometimes that happens with the amount of people I deal with. So I'm not sure where she is today, but she started to create gift baskets, and she made her own cookies. She did some of her baking, put it in there. And then during things like quinceañeras, baptisms, weddings, Valentine's Day, and she really thrived.
And it grew.
And it grew. It grew to the point where, she had to move it from her living room, last time I spoke to her garage. She was
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, she was hiring a couple of her high school daughter's friends.
I read a really great series of articles by Entrepreneur, and it talks about side hustles. And I love reading that, because here's an example of one that just really made me smile the other day. I was reading about a college student who was kind of watching in his environment what was happening, and he wasn't quite sure what to do with himself, but he noticed that there was a need for vending machines in his school. And he scouted out several spots, and he saw that there was some they weren't getting enough revenue, they weren't working too well. So he offered to go buy the vending machines from the schools and change it. And so what he did is he started watching these different things and kind of got an idea of what was popular in different other markets, and he tried it in his own market, in his own school. And when he did that in his own college, now he's making over $100,000 a year. And now it's expanded, it expanded from that to 150,000, and it kept growing. And he put another one in another spot. But what he saw was a need, and he monetized it, jumped on the idea, and then it expanded and grew and exploded. So I think sometimes what we're talking about is finding a passion, something you're good at, something you love, and then building on it and monetizing it. That's, this is the most powerful thing you could do to create freedom for yourself. I mean, wow, what a concept.
I have a couple of personal anecdotes I'll say real quick, because really networking is on my mind right now. But to do your research before jumping into things, because like you're talking about the restaurant. So 25 years ago, My sister, my brother-in-law. This is my office. I call it my scuba room because we're all scuba divers. We're all advanced certified. Like all this stuff is from scuba
I
trips.
love the aqua.
So it's water. It's the water. So we wanted to open a scuba shop. That's what we were going to do with our money. We were going to go and open a scuba shop. So we befriended several different dive masters that own scuba shops, and every one of them said, "Don't do it." They sat us down and told us why. Have you thought about the insurance? What if somebody dies? What if someone gets the bins coming up? What? You know, all these things. And we're like, no, I'm out. I don't want to do that. And then, so recently, another one I'm thinking about a lot, probably not going to do it. It's car washes. So a best friend of mine a couple of years ago said, we need more car washes. She lives in Denver, in my area. And then our founder said about a year or so ago, we need somebody to open a car wash around here. I think that's a good business. And then so I've been thinking too about, I need car washes where I live. Like I want to open a car wash. So I started doing a lot of research on opening a car wash and owning a car wash. It seems simple. Look at all this money I'm going to make and I don't have to do anything. Well, when you get down to it, there's so much. You need $1 million to get started and all these things with machines and automation now. I'm like, no, I'm out on that too. So whatever you feel like you're going to jump into and be your side gig, just do a bunch of research before you lose a ton of money. And then the other thing I was going to say about being in transition was just network wherever you are. If you're close to a metropolitan area, getting involved with your groups, look at your meetups, look at all the LinkedIn stuff that's on there, look at Facebook, everything in your local area. Get out and meet people in person. It has made a world of difference for me in the last couple of years. My network is 10x
So
I was a
awesome.
couple of years ago.
That's
So
a great point. And then
person,
your network leads to other opportunities, which in turn
100%.
leads you to the ability to do other things.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's such a cool thing, right? I mean, wow.
Well,
We're getting at time, but I do want to kind of wrap up. But Coach Paul, say your thought.
quick thought is that you just don't be afraid to let people know that you're looking for a job or you're looking for new opportunities. That means the mail carrier, the checkout clerk, everybody and anybody in a nice way, strike up a conversation and then find a way to interject that. I got a fairly sizable contract because I talked to the mail carrier.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
You know, and he looked at me, he goes, "Oh, my wife's at this company." That company led to a contract.
Be nice to everyone, talk to everyone, be sociable. I mean, you'll be amazed.
And that leads to so many opportunities. Yeah, you got to be courageous and get out of your comfort zone and try new things and look at new things. Get out of your house.
Yeah.
If you're sitting there in this mode where you're just applying to jobs and you're stuck, Paul DeVenages said this.
And Steve Levy, be bold.
Exactly. In my life, I right before I got in this transition, I called Paul, who's this amazing Minnesota headhunter, and I picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Paul, what do you think?" Another amazing Paul. So I said, "Hey, what do you recommend to just get my name out there? What do I need to do to get ahead of the curve? There's so many recruiters applying jobs." And he goes, "Call the local Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And ask the president who's hiring or who's facing a challenge, or and then ask them, take them to lunch, take them to whatever. They know stuff. So find an influencer who knows and has that can help you uncover the blind spots, and then you're going to find opportunities in unexpected places. So I think that's the key of what we talked about today, and I would love to have you guys both back in a couple more sessions.
Sure.
I mean, any parting thoughts, any parting jabs before we? I mean, what a great convo we had today. This was good.
I'll give a parting thought is that there is a lot of, even towards the end of the holiday season, this past year, going to and I go to a lot of networking events. There was a lot of pessimism and doom and gloom and just feeling down.
Yep.
Starting mid-January, I'm going to my networking events, and there's a lot of other staffing agencies, a lot of other recruiters that I mix and mingle with, even if they're not recruiting specific events. And everyone was feeling lighter. They're getting jobs. Things are coming in. Things are opening up. So for me, 2024 is more positive. People are starting to land places. We're getting a lot more jobs on our desks finally. So very optimistic. Be up, up, up. Don't listen to a lot of the doom and gloom because things are changing. Things are getting better. The jobs are there. Just be tenacious. Go for it. be bold, but be optimistic. Good things are
Yeah.
happening this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to say, Paul?
I'd hitchhike on that, what April's saying. Be bold, be excited. People like to be around positive people. Even if you're not doing well, do not say to somebody, oh, it's a terrible market out there and I just
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Be, be up. People
Yep.
are attracted to people that are up. And then the other thing is I'm a big proponent on another type of networking is get out, like we said, get out of the house, but get out and volunteer.
Oh gosh, yes.
I had a
amazing
client
opportunities come from that. Holy cow.
Yeah. I had a client
Serving
of
other
mine
human
that,
beings, helping other human beings, getting
yeah.
outside ourselves. It's something to be said with our mental health epidemic today. A lot of people are into themselves. Now, look at 2020 till now. We've been through a lot of stuff. Inflation, you name it, we've been through it.
Right.
Just a lot of different nuances, all because of COVID that put a shock to the system. Whatever you want to say, our government's dysfunctional. It is. Let's just say it for what it is. There's all these different things. In this election year, though, one most important thing, people are going to disagree, but find the common ground. Find the middle ground wherever you can.
Yeah.
And find a way to bridge the gap, because we have so many, they said this, there's a lot of, but let's find a way to help people and get back to what America has been, which is really helping people no matter where their background lies, doing the right thing for the right reasons, and realize we all have more in common than we realize. There's such power in that. So
and people will remember us if we've done something that helped them.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, Coach Paul. I love that. But thanks for joining us on this conversation today. April, you were awesome. Paul, this was great getting you and introducing you to my audience, and grateful to partner with you going forward. It's going to be a lot of fun conversations in the future. April, we'll have you back at some point.
Sure.
What a great conversation on entrepreneurship and career insights. I'm very proud of you both. You did a great job in this conversation today. Thanks for coming. And I had a lot of engagement today, actually. So had a couple of influencers in the chat. Driven Dad was here. He's a gig economy influencer. That was fun to see. But thank you so much for joining us at Where's Your Next. Until the next time, we'll see you then.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See y'all later.